Hello and welcome to the Unnamed Automotive Podcast. My name is Sami Haj Assad, and with me, as always, is my good friend and fellow automotive journalist, Benjamin Hunting. Say hi to the people, Ben.
Greetings, human listeners.
Greetings to everyone. If this is the first time you're listening to our podcast, thank you for trying something new. Ben and I are really excited to hear today that we are on a listing of Best Canadian Podcast, number 1. Have you ever been number 1 in a listing like this before?
I shudder to think of the lists I might be on.
At the number 1 spot.
Any spot, to be honest. I was going to say, to all the listeners out there, do you ever wonder if Sami's podcasting voice is the same as his speaking voice? Or do you
I don't think they wonder. I don't think they wonder at all. They know that there's a very slight deviation to why? Because you hear me go from talking to podcast voice in an instant and you think it's a major, you get whiplash?
It's like, I don't know how many of our fans of our list, I would not presume. No, it's because I was about to talk about music. So people of our listeners are music fans, specifically rap fans. But there's a rap group from the 90s and still active called Cypress Hill. And the rapper Be Real, who's the lead rapper in the group, he has kind of like this nasally voice when he raps, but he sounds nothing like that when he talks. And there's I'm not going to get into it because there's a really interesting story that's absolutely unrelated to cars, but there's a whole reason why he completely changed his voice on the record. And it's something that ended up impacting their career and getting them a record deal and whatnot. But Sami, what I'm saying is, are you the Be Real of the Unnamed Automotive Podcast? Are there people out there who are like, I wonder if Sami's much quieter or has a softer voice or just not as much bass? Or
I have no idea, but somebody has to be the Be Real of this podcast. And you're throwing it to me, so I guess I'm gonna have to take it and receive it and get going with it.
I'm the DJ Muggs of this podcast, if we're continuing the Cypress Hill metaphor.
That's very fair. Ben, you're not insane in the membrane, but you can be found all over the internet. Can you plug a couple of the recent publications you've written for?
Sure, you can find my work at Motor Trend, at Capital One Auto Navigator, and at Haggerty.
And you can find my work at autotrader.ca, driving.ca, and Capital One's Auto Navigator as well. Ben, we've got some pretty cool cars to talk about. Some speedy ones, I think, is the best way to define.
Well, yours is definitely speedy, I would say.
I don't think yours is slow.
Well, it's not a contest.
But we are talking about similar traits.
We're talking about two vehicles that couldn't possibly be more different, I think.
Wow.
I mean,
I don't
they have
think
similar
that's true.
4 wheels.
Yeah.
They go forwards and backwards.
And can turn.
There's torque involved, I think.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I know, in fact, that there's torque involved. But you drove something that we haven't talked about on the podcast in a very long time.
Is that true? Really?
It's the Porsche 911 T.
Yeah, Carrera T, I believe,
Carrera
is the
T.
official term for it. It is a new generation of Porsche Carrera, I believe. I think this is called the 992.2.
It's been almost 3 years since we've talked about a 911 on the podcast, and that was not one that we drove. That was the Dakar. I don't think either of us ever drove that one.
No, but we were pretty stoked about it.
The last time we talked about a 911 that we drove on the podcast was 2020, and that was a Carrera 4S.
Okay.
So
did you drive that, or did I drive that?
I have not driven a Porsche since 2017, and there are reasons for that we will not get into on the podcast either.
Okay,
but feel free to speculate as to who
drove it. That's fair. So I'm driving this 911 Carrera T. The Carrera T is, I don't know, it's maybe the second from the bottom in terms of product lineup.
And there's second from the bottom for the 911 means like 1 of 14, right?
Yeah, there's 14 trims of the regular 911 models. That's not including like the GT3, I think. I don't even know if there is a new generation GT3. There might be. But 14 of them, you can get a Carrera. You can spend $129,000 on a Carrera, or you can spend $140,000 on a Carrera T. That's the car I drove. There are a couple of reasons why somebody would spend $140,000 on a Carrera T over a...
That's Canadian, right?
No, that's US.
Okay. What does it cost in Canada?
In Canadian, the base price is $143
for the base Carrera.
Sorry, that's US pricing it as well. What the heck am I talking about? I had it all here, Ben.
And then it just disappeared. Right at the moment where
disappeared.
you were going to talk to people about it, gone.
Yeah, gone. The base price of the Carrera T in Canada is $149,000.
So not that much difference.
Not that much difference, which
in fact, that's a deal. Like if you're in the US listening, well, no, because I don't know what tariffs are like right now.
Yeah,
so
tariffs will get you.
Maybe that'll get you. But I was going to say, cross the border, buy your 911 here, and with the currency exchange, you'll save a lot of cash.
It's just so, I don't know. I think it's an important thing to talk about 911s in general. The base price of a 911, the starting price of any 911 in the US is $130,000. That seems like a lot of money. That seems like a ton of money.
That's twice what you would pay for a C8 Corvette.
Yeah, I think we were talking about this before the show, mainly talking about, I think, aspiring vehicles or vehicles for automotive enthusiasts to aspire to. And Sami, the 911 and the Corvette, I think, both occupy that kind of space because they've been around for multiple generations for a very long time.
I gotta push back on your pricing. The base Carrera in Canada is $160,000. The Carrera T is $172,000.
I don't know what the pricing they gave me is.
So that's very, very different from the US price.
Did they change the pricing due to the ongoing tariff battle?
No, there's no tariffs in Canada, so this is what it costs in Canada. I'm just on the configuration site right now.
Thank you for telling me that. I'm looking at the sheet that they gave me.
One of the craziest things, and before you continue, I just want to point this out. One of the craziest things about the Carrera, not just the fact that there are so many models, but it's the price spread between them. Yeah. So in Canada, 160 gets you in the door, but the most amount of money you can spend on a 911 is $289,000, which is the 911 Spirit 70, which is a convertible special model. I don't know anything about it. I've never heard about it until now. The 911 GT3 is just below that at $277,000. So you're looking at almost very close to double what you pay for the base model on the top end model. That's
now I'm going to push back a little bit further now. Can I push back a tiny bit further? Because on the Porsche Canada website, it says base price for the 911T, $154,000. In addition to that, there's an estimated maximum dealer fee, which I thought was a very interesting thing for them to point out. Where are you
seeing this pricing?
If you scroll down to the summary, I suppose.
I'm just at the regular configurator.
I'm at the configurator as well.
And I'm seeing 159, 322, and then 172, 402.
I'm on the 911T. Which one are you on? This is great podcasting, really.
Yeah, everyone's loving this visual. I'm looking at every 911. There's a list. If you go to the configurator, we'll show you all
this.
of them.
I don't know. You don't want to play my game. That's fine.
Well, I'm not playing a game.
No, you don't want to play my game. That's fine. I'm pointing out these extra fees. Estimated luxury tax $12,000. That's a lot of money. Anyway.
Oh, I see.
Oh no, it's okay. We're past this point in the podcast. This is the point of no return. Here's what I'm going to tell you about this 911T. It is the only model you can get with a manual transmission.
Estimated maximum provincial tire recycling fee.
Yeah,
$35.
They included that.
I'm going to check out that crazy, super expensive one. I want to see what the luxury tax is on that.
Why?
Because we're already so far down this configurator rabbit hole. Okay, the estimated luxury tax on that is $26,000.
Well, okay, there you go. Three times. Okay, let me tell you basics of this 911T. They want to tell you that the 911T is for the purists. It's the only model you can get with a manual transmission in the 911 lineup, as far as I understand. It is now a 6-speed manual as opposed to the outgoing 911T 7-speed. They just got rid of, I don't want to say just got rid of, but they got rid of the seventh gear and kept the rest of the ratios the same, which now, I think is a really...
Is it the same transmission, or is it a transmission borrowed from like a higher performance 911?
It's apparently it's a transmission borrowed from a higher trim model, like the GT3, I think, or the outgoing GT3.
I would suspect then, and this is just a guess, if you're Porsche and you're only making one manual transmission vehicle for like your non-GT cars, it would make more sense to just have one available than to make a 7-speed and make this other transmission at the same time, right?
Oh, wait. This is not the 6-speed from the GT3. This is important to point out. They do have the cables and bushings from the GT3, which is what makes it feel particularly particularly nice in the.
So there is no logic then. My logic just out the window.
I don't know what the logic is.
Wow. Okay.
Apparently, people complained about the too many gears in the outgoing model.
Well, you get above 6, you start to get lost. I mean, we've all been there.
That there's 4 gates on the top end of the shifter, which
it's
I
like
guess
that Star Trek: The Next Generation meme.
Yeah.
There are 4 gates.
This is the only one you can get with a manual. It's interesting. It is. They wrap this manual in this walnut wood, which has caught the eye of many people. Everyone seems to be entranced in this walnut wood.
How strong is a wood transmission, though? Like wooden gears.
I mean the shifter. Okay. It's very important because my editor at driving.ca basically pointed out this walnut shifter to me. Another listener of the podcast, messaged me, said I'd looked up that 911T you're talking about next week. It's that walnut shifter is so amazing. Basically, it sounds like the car is built around this walnut shifter, and I was like, do they need to sell anything else here?
The walnut shifter, I mean, if you get the 911T without the walnut shifter, it's $60,000. But then it's not authentic.
No, it's not. It's a car. They think that all of these elements about the vehicle is that it's saving weight in some way or another. It's still a 3,300 pound vehicle, rear wheel drive, rear engined, rear wheel steering now on this model as well. They've gotten rid of a couple of old school analog things. There's like no standard tack. It's like an entire digital dash now. That's kind of sad. Did you really think so?
I'm on record as liking gauge pods. I think they're cool.
You can modify it to make it look like the old 5-pod 911 gauge cluster. Remember the Ford Mustang thing? You can. Why can't we just get a Fox body Mustang gauge cluster in there?
Well, is it like a rectangle of plastic on the dash, or is it inside a binnacle?
It's in a little binnacle. Yes.
Does it connect to the infotainment screen?
No. That is not how I would describe it. There is a separation of plastic there. Speaking of the gauge cluster, it works. I mean, the infotainment screen works very nicely. I had wireless Android Auto. Love that. I was under the impression that Porsche didn't recognize Android devices at all, but no, it works very nicely here. There's no clean way to put your stuff in this vehicle. I know that sounds really like first world problems. You have to put your phone in the armrest. It stays in a little wireless phone charging.
You could just put it in your pocket.
Cubby, I guess so. And then that's it. You just take off. The cup holders were the worst cup holders I've ever used.
What made them
Any other questions?
What made them so bad?
They were too small.
Too small for what though?
Too small for cups.
What kind of cups?
For my
do you have like a giant truck driver mug style?
No, I don't have that Yeti mug or whatever Stanley mug.
Something
I just
that's
have a
last
regular
all day.
coffee mug. It did not fit nicely. I had to use the passenger side one, which is more like open or something. It's like it folds out of the dash, then unfolds. And it fit there, and then I forgot my cup when I returned the car in there. So
in Europe, it's actually just an ashtray that unfolds from the dash.
I need to get out of this. I need to get out of this conversation because the real point of the 911T is that it drives really well. I think this is one of the most authentic driving sports cars that you can have. It is a vehicle that really feels like you're driving it. I mean, that's because it has a manual transmission. Yes. But I will add that the manual transmission is surprisingly good. There's like really no play in the shifter. There's no wobble to it. It's very precise in that way. And I found the clutch pedal to be a little bit heavy, but once you get used to it, it worked very, very, very nicely. There's a 7,500 RPM red line. Car sounds pretty good all the way up to that. There's only 388 horsepower, which is 9 more than before.
So you're paying, including luxury tax, $173,000 in Canada for 388 horsepower?
Yeah. Doesn't sound like a lot, right?
It doesn't sound like a lot at all.
No.
It's a turbocharged 6-cylinder engine or a turbocharged 4-cylinder engine?
No, 6. Come on now.
Sammy,
They haven't gone this crazy yet.
Sammy, I'm just saying,
You can also get a convertible version of the 911T. That's new for this generation. I'm on record for saying I really, really, really enjoyed driving this thing. It reminded me what a fun to drive sports car is. And then I got back into my little, my Toyota 86 and was like, hey, this is also fun to drive. You know what I mean? It might not have the same power. I like how you call it
an 86 when it's actually a Scion FRS.
Yeah, I don't know if people still know what a Scion is anymore.
Well,
I think that
they would if you didn't pretend that you didn't own one. It's like you're obscuring the existence of the brand.
But there's also, I think an 86 calls back to every version of the car. Anyways, it has way less power. It has no turbos. It is smaller in every way, but there's an element of like driving a vehicle for the joy of driving it, for like looking at how you have to drive it a certain way. And because of the, the turbocharged 6-cylinder, you can get away with a lot of point and shoot with a 911, even if it does just have 388 horsepower. You can't get that in my car. And I will say that I'll throw back to last week's episode when you said your new Pathfinder makes you feel like an NPC, or not an NPC, a main character in a procedural, like,
no, in a mid-budget early 2000s movie about a small town, but the character does not know they're the main character yet. They're driving this vehicle in the intro to the movie. We don't really know what's going on. I will say
my car feels like I am one of the guys that loses to Paul Walker's character in a Fast and the Furious race.
Your FRS or the 911?
My FRS. I am shifting as much as I can to get anywhere I can.
Danger to manifold.
Yes. But I'm having a great time doing it. I'm going to throw out a few, silly, either stereotypical quips of some kind, and then lose.
What about the 911? Which character are you? Are you like the big bad guy who like owns the 911? Is just like one of a fleet of luxury cars they own?
Yeah, that's the sad part, right? Like a 911 Carrera T would totally be just like a side character, because it's not the most powerful 911 there. It's not the most like limited edition, like most expensive one. As you mentioned, there's some called Special 70 or whatever you talked about earlier. That's like $300,000. It is a car meant for an enthusiast to drive it, and that's it. That's it. Like, it's such a strange thing to me to say this, because there's too many 911 trims. There's 14.
Now, do you think that that's a problem for, say, a 911 owner, in the sense that if you own a 911, chances are no one knows which 911 you own? Or do you think it's good because everyone thinks that all 911s are super fast and crazy, which I guess they are to an extent. So it kind of evens out and you just end up impressing people regardless. Or, and I'm going to push this even further, do you think non-car people don't care or know what a 911 is? Or do you think that has just become like a uniform for a certain level of economic success?
Yeah, I think it's the last option there combined with a little bit of the first one, which is to say that, one, I don't know if people even know if 911, I think people know Porsche as a sports car. And I think they really barely know the difference between non-car people know the difference between a Cayman and a 911. Like,
well, I'm sure they don't. But what about like, say, a Cayenne, which is like pretty popular?
Yeah, so that's when you know it's a Porsche Cayenne. They know that one as a Cayenne. They know that one as a Macan. They know that one as the Taycan, I think. But, Porsche, if, when you close your eyes and think Porsche, you think of a 911. I don't know which 911 you think of. I don't think it really matters. Carrera to Carrera GT.
Well, it matters if you're paying the luxury tax.
It does, of course. Now, that's what I'm getting at here. Why? Why did they reserve this 6-speed only for this model that is, look, it's got a couple of bits and bobs here that are not available on the base 911. There's bigger brakes. There's different dampers on it. I'd like to say that the standard rear wheel steering is found differently. It's got a different ride height compared to the base Carrera. It's got all these little doodads and changes that are so minute, and then they've charged an extra, like, what's the price difference here? An
20,
extra like $10,000 for the American model.
I can tell you why, but you won't like the answer.
I won't like the answer. I've already analyzed it because, one, they can, and two, it's just marketing, right?
It's a way to make you pay more for both the manual transmission and the automatic transmission. Whereas in the past, usually the manual came standard and then you had to pay more for the automatic. Well, now it's both, because you get the automatic standard, but if you want the manual, now you have to pay more. But also if you want the next trim up, it's automatic and you have to pay more for that too. Yeah. So there's no one for one anymore. It's not, by making by divorcing the transmission from the option sheet and making it trim specific, they're able to charge a lot more money that way.
I don't know. Like I think that's 100% true. 100% true. It is a machine to make money. It feels like they're laughing at you when you buy this vehicle, because they've arbitrarily locked out all of these great combinations of vehicle among 14 trims, and then said you can't get it exactly the way you can get it, but we can get very close with this Carrera T, which you have to pay extra for. Okay, and you have to go. Okay, I guess. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But what's the take rate on the Carrera T?
I don't know that.
I assume it's tiny.
I also would assume it's tiny. I also, something that you pointed out is that 911s, while Porsche has these really great experience centers in different markets where they allow people to, push the limits of either their driving capabilities or the vehicle's handling in a controlled environment. You mentioned that 911s are kind of a rarity on track days.
The ones that I go to, the 911s that I see are typically like GT3s or equivalent, like the which is the one that has the cage that's included. This GT2 and the GT3, and I can never keep them straight in my mind. But I know that one of them is more civilized for the street, and the other one is kind of like an all-out track thing. I will occasionally see those. But I really feel the true Porsche enthusiast is buying Caymans. And I see a lot of Caymans, and specifically GT4 Caymans, which
that's
are
wild to me.
Very expensive. Like, it's not a price thing. It's not like someone in a GT4 Cayman could not afford a 911.
Exactly.
They specifically chose the best track car that Porsche makes so they could go to the track. I feel like the 911 is a uniform that you wear to display wealth, and it's a good car, but it's not necessarily a car that enthusiasts buy anymore.
Yeah, I think that's what we're getting at. I think that's one of the things we're getting at, is that it has transcended it has potentially transcended its enthusiast. I don't want to say roots, but I will say roots. I'm trying to find a better word than roots, by becoming more expensive, more high tech, more exclusive. And then offering the really enthusiast-oriented models in the 718 and the Cayman lineup, even though those now run with 4-cylinder turbos, those are really rewarding cars. They're really harsh. They're perfect for the track. This 911T just feels like a way of saying a bunch of different enthusiast jargon to somebody, being like, oh, the pistons are the brakes are like this, the suspension is like that, and it's the only one with a manual transmission. And take a look at this walnut wood.
Maybe you also snag the people who like wish they could go to the track, and so they end up in that vehicle because it's the closest they can come, whether they just don't have time or it's just not something that's available to them. But they can afford this 911, and to make it truly special, they want to shift gears themselves. And I can understand that as well. It's still marketing, but it's marketing to a very specific demographic.
Yeah, it's so funny to me that it's like they're marketing these 14 trims, these 14 slivers to specific people, when I got to ask, the pickup truck market, you can customize your truck in so many different ways. You can get the long bed, the short bed, the big cab, the small cab, the smaller cab. You can get 4-wheel drive. You can get rear-wheel drive. You can get 6 different engine options. You can get leather, cloth. You can get tribal tattoos on the inside. You can get tribal graphics on the outside. You can get a different logo on the front. And Ford is happy to make all, because I guess they sell like a million of these things a year, and Porsche sells significantly fewer 911, so they have to make these little boxes for buyers.
Anything else? Anything else that you wanted to talk about with the 911?
Is it judgmental for me to believe that if somebody could get a Carrera T at 140 grand, they could get almost any other trim level they wanted? They have to specifically have.
I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true at all. I don't think that because you can afford a $140,000 car, you can suddenly afford any other 911, which we've just talked about.
Yeah, that's true. One of them is twice.
More.
One of them is
Like,
twice the price.
More than one of them.
almost any of them.
There are several other 911s that are $100,000 more than this 911, which I feel is, I don't think that's true.
Okay.
The other thing too is though the higher levels, they're not necessarily available. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you have to get on a list.
There's only so many of these cars that are produced.
That's fair.
And dealers only get so many. So
that's fair.
Absolutely. You have to have a relationship and you have to be in the right part of the country, I would think, and all of that stuff.
The final word is, Porsche still makes a fantastic driving 911. It's so much fun to drive with this manual transmission. Will you get one? I don't think so, because it's expensive. And
but if you really want one, then you won't be disappointed, right?
Exactly, 100%. You won't be disappointed, which is crazy to say about a $150,000 car, right? To me, we talked about this with the Volvo. Remember when I drove the EX90, I said, when you're spending this much money, you have to expect perfection. And I truly believe that this car nailed it. Like, it was so much fun to drive. I had so few real issues with the driving experience. You buy a 911 to drive it. You drive it, you buy it to show off a little bit, and you buy it to drive. And it was really good at doing both of those things.
So I'm going to pivot to a different kind of vehicle. Specifically, we got a question from a listener, Johnny, who reached out last week, talking about the fact that he and his wife are looking for something to replace their Golf Sport Wagon. And they love wagons, and I love wagons too, and Sami also loves wagons, and wagons are great. But the problem is, there are really no wagons for sale on the market today unless you're willing to spend an insane amount of money. And we've talked about the M5 Touring recently. We talked about the RS6. Mercedes is offering an E-Class that's not really a wagon, that's not really a crossover. They don't really offer a pure wagon anymore.
Porsche makes some wagons too. I think the Panamera and Taycan both come with wagons.
So you essentially have to be a very wealthy person to buy a wagon, which sucks. Unless you want to buy the Toyota what's the
Crown
model again?
Signia.
Crown Signia, which is a wagon in all but name. I believe in Japan it is marketed as a touring. That's how they sell it. But there are obviously, used options out there. Volvo and still new. Volvo is still making the V60. The V90 is kind of hanging around, which is a little bit bigger. But what they're asking is they want to replace it in the next few years. They don't want a crossover, but they need space for kids and cargo and that kind of thing.
Yep.
What do they do? Like, are we in a future where there's not really any options for people who love wagons unless you're willing to take a chance and roll the dice on a Volvo that might not be reliable, and in fact is probably more expensive than you would think because they still are holding their value decently on the secondary market.
Yeah, and then the same thing can be said about any Toyota too, right? The Crown Signia is not going to be cheap. That's a $40,000 to $50,000 car
for sure. So I mean, Johnny headed off the Outback answer, saying like, you're probably going to say Outback, but Outback is about to not be a wagon anymore.
It's going to become an SUV next year. Yeah,
it's going to be nothing like it was. So, as sad as it makes me say, unless you have a fair amount of money to spend, I really don't think there are wagons on the horizon. I mean, just this week, Acura canceled the TLX, right? Mm-hmm. Which was the last sedan they were making, except for the Integra.
Yep.
So the car companies aren't even making cars anymore, let alone wagons. And I don't have a lot of optimism for wagons in the near future. There is an unusual chance that things might boomerang around. Wagons might become cool because everyone has an SUV and marketers will be like, well, if you want to be the cool kid on your block, drive something that's not an SUV. That kind of stuff could happen. But if we're in a world where gas is like $2 or $3 a gallon and people don't really care about fuel economy, it's harder for me to see any kind of moving away from SUVs. And that's sad. It makes me sad. I don't like having to say that. I mean, I've been looking at wagons. I was looking at like the CTS Sport Wagon from the early 2000s, the BMW 3 Series wagon that was available for quite a while, which is pretty good. But, again, questions of reliability, it's very hard to recommend a car like that out of warranty. The Volvo wagons, it's weird because there's a colleague or a photographer in automotive. She has a V90 cross country, I believe. And I looked into those because a friend of mine had the same question. They wanted to change their Outback for a larger wagon, and they found that the V90 inside was actually smaller than the Outback. Like the space just wasn't used that well, even though it's ostensibly a class above vehicle. So the options are not amazing. You could get the Audi makes the
all-road.
The all-road is kind of wagonish, but again, you're going to be spending money there. So all of this was kind of rolling around in my head when I drove the vehicle that I had last week, which is the 2025 Kia EV6. And I know you're thinking like, oh, isn't the EV6 just a crossover? I don't know that it is.
I think that's a fair point to say about a lot of EVs. Because one, they have massive wheelbases. I'm talking not just the EV6, but I think the Ioniq 5 that it's based, it shares platform.
Yeah, they're both larger than the respective Hyundai Santa. It's the I can't remember the Hyundai full size SUV.
The full size are the Santa Fe or Telluride and Palisade, right?
I believe
Sorento.
The Sorento, I know that the EV6 has a larger wheelbase than a Sorento. And if you were to look at those two vehicles...
Almost as long as the Telluride.
You would think that the Sorento is bigger, and it's not. But what really catches me with the EV6 is it has a flat roof, a low flat roof.
Oh, yeah.
It is a shape that you're not... And unlike, say, the Ioniq 5, which shares the same EGMP platform, the Ioniq 5 is very clearly a hatchback. I think that they've...
Okay, yeah, fair.
It's styling-wise... It leans in that direction, but I don't think the EV6 does. The EV6 reminds me of like the Infiniti EX35, which was kind of like the weird small wagon that they sold as an SUV for about 15 years. A vehicle that I liked very much. It had a 300 horsepower VQ engine, had horrible fuel mileage, didn't have a lot of room inside, but it was fun to drive. So the EV6 comes along, and it strikes me as like a stealth wagon. This is a wagon that, again, it's expensive to buy new. Like the price range, let me pull it up for the United States. I know in Canada they hover around 50 grand. In the US, they start a little bit lower than that though. In the mid 40,000s and then go up to the mid 60s. But that mid $60,000 car is like the high performance GT version. So you don't have to get that.
It barely counts in this discussion, right?
But like used these cars are a lot cheaper. The depreciation on them is fairly high. You're looking at probably within 2 years they've lost about $20,000 off their price tag, and part of that is because incentives are baked into the original price, and once that's out of the picture, things get a little more realistic. So Johnny, if you are interested in a wagon, I would consider looking at the EV6. I'm going to talk about it now because there are things I liked about it a lot and things about it that bothered me. I'm going to stick with the thing that bothered me because we're talking about the roofline being low. I got into the car. I'm 5'7". I'm not a tall person. I hit my head on the ceiling.
Oh my God, really?
The front where the ceiling meets the windshield. I hit my head on it. The seat was up. I put the seat down. I was still high enough in the car that when I put the visor down for the sun, it hit the brim of my ball cap.
Oh my God.
So I looked into it. My car had a sunroof. The sunroof is like 2.5 inches lower roofline in the front. The back, it's the same. It's like regardless of whether you have the sunroof. But I had passengers in the car who also complained about the height of the car from the rear seat. And they were also not tall people. So as much as I like this low roofline, it might not be for you if you have a long torso like I do and you have trouble. I'm going to be honest. I haven't hit my head in a car in like, I don't know, years. And it was a sports car the last time it happened, not an EV. An EV crossover, right? So I thought that was a little weird, but everything else about the interior is great. You have like really good legroom, front and rear, because of that huge wheelbase. You have tons of room to stretch out. The cargo room is decent. It's like almost 50 cubic feet in total, which is pretty good for a vehicle this size, considering how low the roof is. If you had a taller roof, you'd probably be obviously stuffing more gear in there, but then you would lose the form factor of the EV6 that makes it cool. The seats fold in an easy to use way. I carried some long stuff in it. I didn't have any problems. It was a very useful vehicle. Now, in many ways, the 2025 model Sami is very much like the EV6 that came out like 4 years ago. Okay. It has the same horsepower pretty much. Let me get to those numbers. And I don't happen to have them with me.
Well, it can happen to anybody.
No, I do have them. I just can't find them. The single motor car is, I believe, 225 horsepower. The dual motor car is 330 or 335, something like that, but it has a lot more torque, something like 450 pound-feet. Why can't I find these numbers? It's so crazy that I can't pull this up.
I believe in you.
I'm
got this.
I'm gonna look. So I wrote multiple reviews of this vehicle, and I'm skimming through those documents now because that's the easiest way for me to find my statistics, because I keep them all in there. Okay, 167 horsepower in the base model, which I don't recommend anyone buy. There's a rear-wheel drive model. It's called the Light. It's 167 horsepower, 258 pound-feet of torque. It has the smallest battery. And you step up from that one to the any other rear-wheel drive model. There's a Light long range. There's the Wind rear-wheel drive. There's a GT Line rear-wheel drive, and you're up to 225 horsepower. The same amount of torque, though, 258 pound-feet. The dual motor car is 320 horsepower, 446 pound-feet of torque, so it was very close. All-wheel drive. It does 60 in like 5 seconds, which is pretty good. There's the crazy EV6 GT, which I didn't drive, 641 horsepower. You don't need that car. It's like a 3.6 second 0 to 60. That's just crazy. I don't. You sacrifice a lot of range to get that. Like the base model is 237 miles of range, but every other rear-wheel drive car gets a bigger battery this year. It's somewhat bigger. It's like 7 kilowatt hours more than the year before, but it's 319 miles of range. You lose about 25 miles if you go to all-wheel drive. If you go for the GT line, which has the really big 20-inch rims, you lose another 25 miles. So it's like 50 miles total. Don't do that. It's not worth it. The EV6 GT is 231 miles, which is way lower. In any case, the biggest change for the car for this year, all those power numbers are the same, but the battery is slightly bigger. That's across the board. The other big change, Sami, it comes with a NACS port.
Oh yeah, that's a big deal.
It is a big deal. The North American Charging Standard. So this is the same port that Tesla uses. It means that all of these cars can go up to a supercharger, plug into a supercharger, and use a supercharger. And for some people, that's what they want. Mm-hmm. That's going to be something that, revolutionizes the ability to own an EV, because supercharger network is by far the largest network in the United States. It's very easy to find a supercharger compared to other cars. You could charge, I believe, EGMP cars at superchargers in the past using an adapter, but this allows you to do it in a native kind of way. I have a problem with this change. There's two issues that one of them is specific to Canada and where I live, and the other one will affect almost everyone, Sami.
Okay, yeah.
The first one is where I live, the combined charging standard, that level of port, whether it's a level 2 charger or a DC fast charger, is the most common charger. It is everywhere. There are literally 6 or 7 within 5 kilometers of my home, and I live in the middle of nowhere. The closest supercharger is 60 miles from me. So there's no benefit for me to use a supercharger. There's no benefit for me to have a NACS port. In fact, it's a hassle because I had to use an adapter to connect to my level 2 charger at home. And then
it doesn't come with a regular port. It's not 2 ports. Just
it's NACS.
Only. No! Take this away. No, I thought it was like they have 2 ports, one on each side.
It gets worse.
Forget this. Goodbye. I'm done. I don't even want to have this conversation anymore. That's insane. Worse. We're done here. No.
Because not only do you...
I'm angry. I can't believe this.
Well, you're going to get more angry because not only do you need an adapter for a level 2 charger for CCS, you need a second adapter for a level 3 because the technology, the way the technology works is, as it's been explained to me, if you have a CCS connector and you plug it in and the bottom 2 prongs, which are used for fast charging, are connected, it will not allow a level 2 charge. So you have to have a level 2 adapter and you have to have a level 3 adapter and you have to have these with you all the time if you want to be able to maximize being able to charge on the road. I'm really
upset with all this. This is too much of a hassle.
The other problem is, even if you live in an area where there are lots of superchargers, if you already have a level 2 charger at home, unless you own a Tesla, chances are it's just a CCS charger and you're going to have to use an adapter every single time you plug in. That is annoying. The second problem, and this is a little bit more technical, but it affects the charging speed of specifically the Kia EV6. Now, Kia EV6s use the EGMP platform, which is an 800 volt platform, which allows them to charge at 350 kilowatts, theoretically. It allows them to, I think, go from 10% to 80% in 10 minutes, something like that?
Yeah.
20 minutes, sorry. That's really, really fast. But you won't see those speeds on a supercharger, because on a supercharger, it's designed to interface with Tesla's systems. Tesla uses a 400 volt electrical charging system in their vehicles. And in fact, Tesla relies on higher amperage versus higher voltage in order to charge quickly. So while a supercharger will charge a Tesla quickly, because a EGMP car relies on high voltage and low amps to charge quickly, you're going to be capped at 125 kilowatts.
Brutal.
It is brutal. And that's specifically because Kia wants to manage heat is the enemy. Low amps means less heat. It gives you more lifespan in your battery. It's just a different philosophy than the Tesla thing. So you'll have access to more chargers, but they will not be as fast as the chargers you would normally have access to. So there's a lot of caveats that come with this. It's like you get good stuff with the NACS port and you get hassles with the NACS port. And because of the way the EV6 is designed specifically, it hobbles what's one of its most appealing features, which is the ability to charge super quickly, which you can still do with an adapter at a level 3 CCS charger.
Yeah.
Have I sold you on this yet, Sam?
No, I mean, I checked out. Like, I've checked out so hard that it's embarrassing that we have to have this fight. Like, I don't know how else to say it. This is a fight. I think they really, I get there are a lot of superchargers out there, but I thought it would be a lot like, some German automakers. I think actually Porsche have two charging ports, one on each side. One has the CCS port and one has the regular, level 2J, whatever it's called. And I thought you could just replace one of those. You can replace the standard port with the NACS port, and then you have both options, and you wouldn't have to use any adapters. But adapters they ruin it. They ruin the whole experience here. Additionally, if you've already bought into, like you said, if you've already bought into the infrastructure or platform of a level 2 charger at home, now you're saddled with this new adapter. To me, that's another potential fault point or danger point. And I don't like that. I just don't like that idea. I don't like anything involving any of this. I think I prefer, I don't know how to say this. Like, it makes people feel like they were early adopters 10 years into the world, right? Like, that's not, I don't like it. How else do I say it?
So there is apparently a version 4 supercharger that's on the horizon.
Yeah.
So in theory, like, when more stations are built, those stations will be able to potentially charge the EV6 more quickly, but we don't know that yet. They also obviously aren't going to replace all existing infrastructure with these version 4 chargers, right? So we're getting a dog's breakfast of charging infrastructure. This is what happens when you have an agreed upon standard that gets swapped out for another standard, and you're caught in the crossfire. You have to make a choice. You have to be like, do I buy an older car that has CCS? Do I buy a newer car that has NACS? And the answer to that is going to be dependent on where you live and your driving habits. If you're charging at home all the time, CCS, and you already have an EV, buying a new EV with a NACS port, which is going to be almost every EV that's coming out, is going to be a hassle for you. But if you're someone who's road tripping all the time, then maybe you're going to swallow your disgust at having to charge at such a slow rate of speed. I mean, it's not obviously terribly slow, but you're losing out on one of the cool things about your car. And
one of the defining factors of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's also, I mean, I'm going to bring this up. Do you want to give Tesla money and use their supercharger system?
Point.
There are a lot of people who are not going to want to do that. So there's so many issues now surrounding. We didn't need more reasons for people to be confused about electric cars.
Yeah, 100%. That's a great point.
And this has given us this. Other than that, I like the EV6. It drives well. I had the all-wheel drive GT line. It is quick. The range is good. it is reasonable in terms of handling. It's not a sporty vehicle, but even though it says GT line, you don't get anything other than appearance and those giant wheels that sap your range, right? But it's a good car. This is a good vehicle. I like it. If you're looking for something that's not an SUV but has SUV-like capabilities in terms of cargo, sounds like I'm describing a wagon. You can get the Kia, and I think that's a really solid choice. I would recommend this vehicle to people, especially if you're not into like the Ioniq 5's looks. This is something you should be out there driving, and it's reasonably affordable. So I think that kind of wraps up how I feel about the EV6, Sammy.
That's perfect. I mean, it's the automaker is making a huge, move on this. Do you know what I mean?
And it's not just Hyundai and Kia. It's like many car companies are doing this now. So it's not just
we're all going to this friction point right now, which is really this is what I'm going to say. It's going to turn people off of EVs because
definitely
there was this moment of like, it kind of reminds me of like when iPod switched from their like proprietary connector to the USB-Cs. And then everyone was like, well, what am I going to do with all these stupid cables that I have all over the place? But at the same time, this is a multi-$1,000 car and a vehicle that you use for much longer than an iPod, right?
And the USB-C didn't impact your ability to charge, which this does.
Yeah. This is tough. This is a tough, like I said, friction point, which I think will deter people from adopting EVs.
It will deter some people for sure.
No, but I mean, look, like people already were concerned about charging. Oh, do I just charge at home with my regular house plug? Oh, you can get a level 2 to charge it faster. Oh, you can get a level 3 to charge it faster. You've educated them on 3 different things. Now you're teaching them about NACS versus CCS. And then you're like, oh my God, what am I doing?
Yeah, but if you're a first-time buyer and you don't have a charger at home, that's a non-issue, right? Because you buy the NACS car, you buy the NACS charger at home, and then you use superchargers.
And the adapters, yeah.
Well, you're not using any adapters.
For another public charger.
No, but you wouldn't. You would just use superchargers. There are way more superchargers than anything else. This really impacts people who already own EVs. And who are already invested in the infrastructure, aka the people who are probably most likely to buy an EV again. Right. So it's kind of a giant middle finger to everyone who's already on the electric vehicle wave.
That's fair. Yeah. Okay. Anything else you want to talk about this week?
No, nothing.
Really? That's it?
A dry, dusty well.
Okay. If you want to tell us all about your thoughts on the transition from CCS to NACS within the automotive industry, or if that means anything to you, one day, you know what, man? I was thinking about this game that we're going to play later, where I just like blindly press 2 or 3 buttons on my keyboard. It creates an acronym or an alphanumeric message, and you tell me what chassis code or model car name features those numbers or letters, and then it'll be a really dumb game that we'll play when we need to kill time. Anyways, NACS or CCS, if that bothers you, tell us. You should probably head on over to our website, unnamedautomotivepodcast.com, fill out the contact form, and that lands right in our inbox, and we read it. We talk about it usually on the next podcast or whatever comes up next. You can also reach out to us the old-fashioned way. The email address is benjamin@benjaminhunting.com, or you can reach out to us on social media. Most of the time, you'll find us on Instagram. Ben is @huntingbenjamin, and you can find me @Sami_ha, like you're laughing. Is that it? That's the whole post-game plug, man. Tell
Sammy,
me
what are you driving next week?
We're going to talk about the Cadillac Optic next week, I think.
Wait, I'm going to talk about the Cadillac Optic next week.
I'm going to talk about the Cadillac Optic next week.
I guess it's oops, all optics.
Well, they're not the same optics as we found out, but they are optics nonetheless.
And even the optics on my Optic are a little odd.
There you go. Be sure to check in next week. There's no NACS on these cars, so we'll have a more positive experience discussing the future of them, I guess. But check in. It'll be cool. It'll be nice to hear both of our takes on the same vehicle on the same week and see how it goes.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.